Shabbat Shalom. This past July, it was 27 years that I came to Temple Beth Shalom. And next year, it's going to be my 30th anniversary from my ordination as a rabbi, which is like kind of crazy because I still don't feel that old, but I am that old. And, you know, when you do what I do, you get to see a lot of things during your life. And I was thinking, as Renee was singing tonight, that when DJ and I first met her, she was probably 11 years old. And her voice has only gotten better since then. And today is Shabbat Nachamu, which is a Shabbat when we're supposed to feel the comforting embrace of God over the Jewish people. And I really can think of no more fitting way of ushering in Shabbat Nachamu than with Renee's voice. No offense to you, DJ, okay? But, and Renee just came back from Europe. She's about to finish college. I mean, it's crazy, right? I still remember when you organized that concert as your mitzvah project for the orphanage in Ethiopia, Renee. So it's a beautiful thing. So it's really a comforting thing to hear your voice on this Shabbat. Shabbat Nachamu is one of the most poignant moments in the Jewish calendar because it really forces us to confront that after any sort of destruction, we have to rebuild. That after any sort of form of tragedy, we as a people have to gather what we have lost, try to find it, and try to begin again. So I want to share with you a story that's actually one of those stories from the past. In my second or third year as a rabbi here, when we were building the temple, we were trying to find Torah scrolls that had survived the Shoah. And so we landed in the Westminster Torah Scroll Foundation in London. Lisa and I went there. And the Westminster Memorial Scroll Foundation was established in the 1970s, early in the 70s, by a British art collector that went to Czechoslovakia. In those days, it was Czechoslovakia, one country, right? And he was looking for Kandinskys, for art that people had hidden during the war and had not emerged and the Soviets couldn't find. So when he was in Prague, he was hunting for this art, and the art dealer that was with him asked him if he was Jewish, and he said yes. He says, look, I don't have any Kandinskys, but I know of a basement where we have 1,500 Torah scrolls that survived the Nazis. And those scrolls survived because the Nazis were gathering from all of the communities they destroyed, and they were going to build a museum of the extinct race of the Jews. So this collector actually smuggled the 1,500 scrolls out of Czechoslovakia and onto Great Britain, into England, and they found a home in the attic of the Westminster Synagogue in front of Kensington Garden. And when we got there, they only had about 50 scrolls left. Part of the mission of the foundation was to give scrolls to communities around the world so the scrolls could actually find new life. And the scrolls that they had left could not be made kosher. So we were faced with taking a scroll that we knew we were not going to be able to read. But when they were showing it to us, we picked a scroll first that we opened it up and bullets came out of it. That's the one on the right as you walk out of the synagogue. And those bullets are German bullets. And that scroll was in a synagogue in Prague. And you can only imagine the story that Torah saw. The one on the left of you leave the synagogue is not a Torah scroll, it's a Haftorah scroll. And if you've never seen it, just take a couple of minutes to look at it. That scroll actually came from Portugal to Czechoslovakia somehow. We don't know how. But it's a Portuguese Haftorah scroll. They're very rare. People didn't write them that much because they were very expensive to write. And the one that we have is over 300 years old. It can still be read. It doesn't need to be kosher. So once in a while we take it out. But what's striking about that scroll is that when we opened it up, it was precisely on the Haftorah for Shabbat Nachamu, which when I saw it, I said, we're going to take two. The Torah scroll and the Haftorah scroll. I said, well, you can only take one. I said, I don't think you understand. We're from Las Vegas. We have to go big or we have to go home empty-handed. So I don't know how I did it. At least still remembers that. I convinced that woman to give me the two scrolls. Okay? And so we take the scrolls, and, they were shipped to us here. And the rest is history. They're out there. We use them once in a while in Simchat Torah, once in a while for Kol Nidre and a Bar Mitzvah. But Shabbat Nachamu, that's what that scroll was open on. Survived the Shoah. And it was open in the words that say, comfort ye, comfort my people. So what does it mean to observe Shabbat Nachamu? What does it mean to feel that embrace of comfort of God, especially at a time where everything we see around us seems to be permeating with pure anti-Semitism? Where do we find that comfort? How do we actually manufacture that comfort out of thin air? Because there's no one on this planet, especially not amongst us, that watches the news every day, and it doesn't get worse and worse and worse. So the message is that everything has to end at one time. And Shabbat Nachamu is not so much about what God is going to do for us, but what we can do to build ourselves up again. Yes, it is a prophecy, but without us, there's no prophecy. Without Jews, there's no people. Without us, there's no temple, there's no Israel. So God needs us to fulfill the prophecy. And how do we bring it about? How do we bring comfort in this horrible time when we're seeing our people that were stolen from their homes in kibbutzim, in the Gaza envelope, looking like skeletons digging their own graves in Gaza? How do we overcome this? So I want to share with you two stories tonight that are like bookends, because one is from antiquity and one is from the middle of the 20th century. The first one is the story of Yehudi Menuhin. Yehudi Menuhin was a virtuoso violinist. He played the violin, and he was one of the best violin players of all times. And he was born in Germany. And after the war, he decided to go back to Germany. He decided to go back and live in Germany. And people really criticized him. They said to him, you are a maestro, you're a virtuoso, you don't need to go there. You can stay in New York, you can go to London, you can go wherever you want. Why are you going to go to the place where your people were destroyed, where your family perished? And his response was unbelievable. And I think it has a lot to do with the attitude that we should be espousing these days. If I refuse to play, he said, if I refuse to play, they will only remember Hitler, who banned me, who shot at my people. But if I play, they will remember my music, the music and the Jew that plays it. And perhaps they will never forget me. That's incredible. You know the amount of courage that it takes? Not only to say that, but to do that? It is like waking up every morning and deciding that they are not going to win. That in spite of what they have done to us and they continue to do to us, they will not win. Menuhin was not ignoring anti-Semitism, not at all. But he refused to let it dictate how he lived his life. And that's what comfort means. We can't allow those around us who hate us to define who we are and to define how we live our lives. We have to rise above them. And we have to continue doing what we do, believing what we believe. It is a reminder that the most Jewish thing that you can do in a time of adversity, in the face of anti-Semitism, is to live rich Jewish lives. Think about that for a second. To build, to create, to pray, to argue, to sing. Because survival is biology. But thriving as a people is an absolute choice. It is not a chance. The second story comes from the Mishnah, from Masechet Brachot. Rabban Gamliel, who was alive during the time of the Roman dominion over the land of Israel, presided over the Jewish people at a time where we were being hunted down by the Romans. Everything was forbidden for us to do. We couldn't assemble, we couldn't study Torah. And some leaders urged caution. We shouldn't really gather in large numbers because the Roman will come and burn us alive. And Rabban Gamliel, according to the Mishnah, held a public banquet. And he encouraged his students to come. And the other rabbi said to him, "How can you do this? They're going to kill us." And he said, "Anyone who wants to kill us, let me remind them what they're taking away from the world. We cannot withdraw. We need to continue to study Torah openly, in their face, so they understand that the flame that they're trying to extinguish can never be extinguished." Now, his words were not exactly recorded, but that's how the Mishnah paraphrases his words. And it's unbelievable, because if you put together Rabban Gamliel and Yehudi Menuhin, these are the bookends of what Nachamu actually means. We can sit all day waiting for God to comfort us. But the truth is that the only way to find comfort is by actively pursuing it, by actively doing that which others want to prevent us from doing. Of course, we shouldn't risk our lives, but by the same token, we should never stop living. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach. Let us please rise. We're going to continue now on page 73.